have to give Coach Greg Adams some credit for this, because he reminded me of something rather important that is part of the entire reason why my entire channel exists. And honestly, you won't really hear this talked about much, simply because since men are passing on, retiring, growing older, and focusing on their family or their grandkids, basically having less involvement in other people's lives and in the church as well. Also, the fact that this mostly deals with men, not with women. Women will pass on other things, but it won't be for the same reasons when it comes down to like lessons and things to watch out for. That's basically being a watchman. Pointing out, warning others of what is to come, what is lacking, or what is needed in people's lives. Jeremiah, Isaiah, and I believe Ezekiel, they do talk about watchmen and why they're needed and what their jobs are. And essentially, and I will link the video to, I will put the link to the video that reminded me of this very important topic. The fact is, you see something, you got to call it out. Now, for others, it's most commonly BS and garbage. You know, you point out the red flags or the garbage, and you say, hey, look at this. This is a mess. This is a problem. This needs to be fixed. Yeah, well, in this particular case, it's a little bit tricky because you got to read between the lines. Since the focus and the narrative has shifted away from basically anything spiritual to what is physical and political, there's a lot of things you got to read between the lines. You got to figure out what's best for you and simplify as much as you need. Figure out what fits, what you need, what to pursue. You got to figure out all that stuff and pursue it as best as you can, or else you're just going to get lost. Other people, they're going to focus on drawing you to them, whether it be for increasing a membership size for a church, or it's going to be to try to get you on the same page with them. Not necessarily to the point of brainwashing or anything like that, but trying to convince you to join them and be on their page and all that. That's not necessarily what's best for you in your life. That's not necessarily what's going to help you with the next part of your life. That is also part of why I'm doing this channel. I'm doing this very simply, very transparently, because, you know, any mistakes and all that, I will try to speak clearly and a little bit louder, simply so I don't have to go back and do any sort of editing or simply redo the entire video, because I've done quite a few of those, and it's really annoying getting 30 minutes into a video and having to start all the way over. I want to try to be as real as I can, and I've taken a lot of time to think about it, and since I'm doing this because of a bit of a passion and a love for pointing out some very important things that I don't see other people valuing. This whole thing is a bit of an interest to me, so that's why I'm doing this. I don't ask for donations. I don't say, click the subscribe button. I've thought about it, but I feel like if I went down that road, I'm just going to end up like many other people out there who simply do this for the views, and that doesn't sit well with me. You know what? It's fine. It's fine. The whole point is to get information out to the people out there that is incredibly helpful and useful. That the church is either doing a poor job of talking about, or is not talking about at all. And the fact is, setting young men up to be successful later on in life is one of them. Another one is simply with the whole Watchmen aspect. I don't have any Bibles nearby, so for me to flip open. But in Jeremiah, in Isaiah, I believe Bible Gateway is a website. You could just type in Watchmen and see what all pops up, because there is a lot of good stuff that pops up with that word alone, and about what they're supposed to be doing. You won't hear that or see that anywhere else in any other faith or religion that I am aware of. It's always about self-reflection or God. It's going to be something along the lines of those in general. I am keeping this very specific, very general, to avoid being specific. I want to say that for, the topic here, which is Watchmen, and a few other things that I pointed out with young men these days, young men and old men. Now, I did say briefly as far as with women, now their role has shifted away from teaching, training, and instructing. I mean, the older women, their role has kind of shifted away. So, they don't really help train up the younger women the way they should. And in fact, what I've noticed is that social media, especially TikTok, has effectively taken over in the same slot as where older women should be. In some cases, completely overtaking. That's not healthy by any standard. Social media is not having relationships with other people. It's just simply replacing or cutting it out completely. And as I've been thinking and looking at what has been around as a whole, this is extremely bad for relationships on so many levels. Now, I'm not saying social media itself is wrong or evil, because the entire point is to connect other people together. And the fact that different narratives have been added on to Facebook, like news and other videos from other platforms like TikTok, that's bad. That change is bad. Now, I have to say, and this is going a little off topic here, but I have to say with back in 2007 and 8, when I got onto when I was missing out with some of the instant messengers, one of them happened to be imvu.com. It's the letters, IMVU. And virtual reality opened up in a whole different way than what I had ever seen before previously. And that is exactly what the owner of Facebook is doing now by changing their name to basically from Facebook to Meta. And that's fine. That's fine to me, which really did surprise me when it took some time to actually think about it, because the whole entire goal is to capture and to utilize the internet, the space there. That is their entire business. And that's fine. That is completely fine, because they're changing things up quite a bit. However, when it comes down to it, men to men, women to women, there's a lot being lost in transition, and that is extremely unhealthy on many levels. And I believe at the start of COVID in 2020, not at the start, but in the middle when things were starting to kind of solidify and old unhealthy habits were broken and things were starting to stabilize, people were starting to realize, and I mean specifically with the churches, they had to change, they had to grow, or else they were going to die. They were going to shut down and lose members. They were already losing members, so they were just going to shut down completely. And some churches actually did. Yeah, so, what to do, huh? It's... A lot of people will be saying one thing or the other, but from what I'm seeing, it's a combination of many different factors leading up to some very important parts. And I do have to agree with what some other people have said about the framework of this nation does tie into all this. There's been quite a few other people out there. I'll just simply say Thinking Ape, aka Stardust. He's talked about it a few different times, and other people in different men's groups and communities and all that. also have to say, going outside of the framework and all that, social media. That has largely impacted everyone in the past 10 to 15, let's see here, 15 to 20 years. Because things didn't really kick off till around 2004, 2005. Somewhere around that time, I believe. Let's see. Social media and all that. I want to say, like, the internet itself, things... Phones with their mobile applications and the other platforms that are mobilized, those did play a part. They're technology-based. So, technology-based, social media, and the framework for this country has been changed by different factors. And the last one is removing men from the families and the kids' lives, basically just removing men from the picture. However, I've never been married. I can only speak from certain narratives. I have to simply say that since some things have not happened, I cannot speak on this. It is not a part of my life. It is not something that has ever made an impact on me in that way, shape, or form. However, I grew up in a strong Christian family with values, morals, ethics, things that people do need to succeed. It doesn't necessarily matter if they're even wrong, because everything that is true, everything that is sincere, has a foundation. And this was talked about back in like November, I think. This one church that I went to, they talked about like how what is false and what is fictional, basically lies, they have to prove themselves. While things that are founded on truth, let's see here. Not sure if I can fix that, sorry. Things that are true, things that are facts, they have a foundation that they can rest on. They don't need to prove themselves the way that those who present lies need to do. And it kind of hit me. I took a lot of time to think about it, and I posted about it online because that was incredibly important, about foundation and all that. Fathers played an instrumental role in that. But leading back to it, not everyone has a role designed to warn others the way Watchmen, the way the men who are watchmen in the Bible were they're talked about, because their entire purpose was literally to warn others, to keep an eye out for the dangers and the red flags and the issues and the problems, and to bring it up to the appropriate people. Generally would be the authorities, not the average person, but in some cases that was exactly what happened. The average person was warned and let known what was happening. Back then, the structures were very different. And I know people want to talk about that left and right with this whole hunter-gatherer thing, and I'm just like, yeah, that's probably part of it, but you know what? It's a little bit more than that. It's a little bit in depth. The whole entire family structure, the community, the countries, all of that is very different. Anyway, Watchmen. It's a very interesting topic, and you just won't hear it talked about anywhere else. Prepping people for tomorrow and the rest of their lives, basically their future. Yeah, I don't know why people don't do more of that. Makes no sense. Anyway, until next time.